forgive parents who have abused children, including even psychological abuse. So the issue of forgiveness always requires us, if we're searching deeply for answers and we're not just staying on the surface, always we have to take the discussion of forgiveness into the worst crimes people could commit. If we only talk about how do you forgive someone who stole my sandwich from the fridge, or how do you forgive someone who took my parking spot or yelled at me for something I didn't do, it's a very shallow discussion of forgiveness, and it's not one that's gonna take us very deeply on our path. So inevitably, when we talk about forgiveness, we have to be prepared to take the discussion into the most heinous crimes, including, not limited to by any means, but certainly including child abuse. Whether it's physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, whatever it is, taking advantage of children who are dependent upon us is a horrible crime. How do we forgive it? Well, we forgive it, interestingly, regardless of what the crime is. The path to forgiveness has to be the same. And the most crucial requirement for the path to forgiveness is the awareness that forgiveness does not make it okay. And this is why we have to take it deep. If we're only talking about sandwiches from, a communal fridge at the office, and someone took my sandwich, well, forgiving them might actually mean it's okay. We might actually get ourselves to the point emotionally of not only not being angry at them, but actually getting to a place inside where we think, well, cello, I'm sure they needed it. I'm so lucky. I get this good food at home all the time. Maybe they don't have access to it. Maybe I should bring 2 sandwiches every day. And, we really could start to think like that would be not only forgiveness, but actually condoning what they did. Okay, well, I guess we're all one. I guess maybe it was a good lesson for me in attachment. And that works on the superficial level stuff. When we're talking about heinous crimes, there is no place it's okay. The fact that survivors of horrible abuse may manage to not only be okay, but actually use that which happened to them to grow in their own strength, that's their greatness. That doesn't condone the abuse. That doesn't retrospectively say, oh, well, it was okay what they did because see how you've grown from it. That's not how logic works. The fact that with grace, there are people who have survived incredible, heinous circumstances. I mean, you look at, Malawi, who won the Nobel Prize. You look at so many, there's, Simon Wiesenthal, from the Holocaust. There's incredible examples, not just everyday examples, but amazing examples of people who survived incredible, unspeakable horrors. And not only survived it, but have used that to go on to blossom and unfold in a way that perhaps if they hadn't been through that, they wouldn't. But no amount of achievement by any of them makes what happened to them okay. So the very first rule of forgiveness is, my forgiving you does not make what you did okay. I forgive you because I deserve to be free. That's all it's about. Whether it was physical abuse, whether it was sexual abuse, whether it was emotional abuse, whether it was a random act of violence, whether it was a situation of war or genocide, whatever it may have been, whether we were single-handedly picked out and targeted, whether we were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, whatever the situation was, if we have survived it alive, we deserve to be free. And not forgiving prevents us from being free. Not forgiving says, that person injured me once or repeatedly for a specific period of time in my life. But now, years later, I'm going to keep injuring myself by holding on to what happened. Because lack of forgiveness is simply my refusal to move on. My refusal to be free. And if you look deeply at it, one of the core reasons that we don't let go is there's really this unconscious belief that if I let go, if I move on, if I'm okay, it means that what you did was all right. But that's not true. It's absolutely not true. The fact that we have heroes today, whether from terrorism, whether from genocide, whether from personal rape and abuse or being hostage or whatever they've been through, the fact that we have heroes today who have taken that and thrived does not, I'm repeating myself on purpose, it does not mean that what happened to them is okay. And so for us to forgive does not mean I condone it. It doesn't mean it's okay. It simply means I deserve to be free. And it means my freedom today is more important to me than staying a victim of what you did to me before. Because see, if I don't forgive you, then what you did to me stays as my identity. Who are you? Ah, I'm a victim of child abuse. Who are you? I'm a victim of this. I'm a victim of that. That becomes our identity. And that prevents us from being free. That literally keeps us every day reliving what happened. So when we're talking about parents who have abused their children, first of all, we have to realize people don't have children simply to torture them. In all of my years of psychology, of spirituality, of simply being a person in the world, I have never, ever, ever heard of a woman who carried a child for 9 months, who gave birth to that child simply so that she would have someone to abuse. That's not what happens. It's not plotted and planned and calculated. I know. I don't have anything better to do for the next 10 years, so I'm gonna ruin somebody's life. Oh, there's nobody around me close enough? Well, okay, I'll create someone. I know, honey, let's have a baby so we can ruin its life. I mean, people don't think like that. What happens is people who perhaps shouldn't be parents or shouldn't be parents at that particular moment. Or maybe should be parents when they first got into the parenting thing, but then something happened that rendered them unable to be a proper parent. Whatever it may have been, they were unable to deal with their current situation in life. They responded to their life with fear, with anger, with frustration, with impatience, with grudges. And that got taken out on their children. That's how it happens. And remember, we're not condoning it. We're simply looking to understand how it could happen, because if I'm going to forgive, if I'm going to let go, it helps. It's not crucial, but it helps to have some understanding of the human being who harmed us, a human being who was themselves tortured. I don't mean that they were necessarily tortured physically by someone, but they were clearly tortured inside. Because if I'm abusing you psychologically, it's because I'm a mess psychologically. Otherwise, you couldn't do it to somebody. You couldn't thoroughly abuse your child unless you were tortured inside. Again, doesn't make it okay. Just helps us put it in perspective. And if we are that child, or we now love that child, and we're looking to forgive the people who have done that to them or to us, realize that the very best thing we can do for ourselves, if we are the ones who were that child, or for the one we love, if they were the one who was that child, the very best thing we can do is become free. As a child who is being abused by your parents, you are stuck. You are in a prison. A physical prison, nowhere to go. Young children cannot support themselves, cannot take care of themselves. We know survivally we are dependent upon the parents, which is also what makes it even more insidious and even harder on the children. Because we depend on them for safety and security. And when they turn around and abuse us in a place where we were supposed to be safe and secure, we're not safe. It literally pulls the rug out from our psychological development. That which is required for proper development, a safe, secure, nurturing home. It's not there. So at that time, we were not free. We couldn't control their actions, and we couldn't get ourselves out. We couldn't talk them out of it. We couldn't explain to them. But now we have the ability to be free. And this is what the spiritual practice teaches us, is how do I let go? And this is what we have to do, is simply say, and by the way, I know that simple, it doesn't mean it's easy. It's not easy, but it is simple. Simply to say, my freedom in life, to act how I want, to have the job I want, the relationship I want, the joy I want, the peace I want. My freedom for all of those things requires that I let go of my anger at you, because holding on to what you did keeps me in patterns, in cycles. Because here's the thing with how our psychology works. Until you deal with something, it's going to keep showing up in your life. So until and unless we've actually faced and dealt with and let go that which happened, we're going to keep creating patterns. Ever wonder why people who were abused in childhood tend to keep getting into relationships in which we get abused? Again, psychologically or physically, why? We say, well, you marry your mother, you marry your father. Why? Well, not just out of habit, but literally so that I can work through that stuff. It's going to keep showing up in my life until I work through it. And so I'm not free. Then the universe has to literally keep giving me situation after situation after situation that's going to keep triggering that, keep bringing it up. And that's the opposite of being free. It's like having to redo third grade over and over and over again. So we let go simply so that we can be free. And we let go because being stuck in the past keeps me from moving anywhere in the present or the future. So I cannot move forward in any meaningful way in my life. Yeah, I'll get older. Yeah, I can make some money somewhere. And we can do all of those things. We can go through the motions. But I cannot really move forward until I let go. And as Puja Swamiji said to me the first week I met him, you've got a choice. You can either carry this to the grave with you. You can give it up on your deathbed. You can give it up a week before you die, a month before you die. Or you can give it up tonight. But again, still quoting Puja Swamiji to me, he said, you're waiting for someone to come and draw the line for you. He said, no one will. It's up to you. And so we can carry things. We can carry pain, we can carry grudges, we can carry our identity rooted in what happened to me. Or we can let it go and be free. And that choice is ours.